Hello and thank you for joining us. I appreciate you taking the time to work on developing your English skills and personal growth. I still remember that afternoon very clearly. An afternoon that was not special at all, with no rain and no strong sun, and the streets were busy enough to not feel lonely, but not busy enough for anyone to notice a person who was disappearing. I left the office later than usual, and my mind was only thinking about dinner and going home as soon as possible because I was tired and did not want to talk to anyone anymore. My phone in my pocket vibrated a few times, but I did not answer because I thought it was just an advertisement message or an unimportant call. I did not know that those were the last minutes when I still had control over my own time. When I walked into the small alley near my home, a place I had walked through hundreds of times, I did not feel unsafe at all because everything still looked calm and familiar like every other day. I heard a car stop behind me very softly and very quickly, and before I could turn my head, a strong hand covered my mouth, with a low and urgent voice telling me not to scream. In that moment, my brain could not understand what was happening, and there was only a cold feeling running down my back, as if my body knew something before my mind could realize it. I was pulled toward the car, and everything happened in just a few seconds, so fast that I could not fight back and could not see anyone's face clearly. The car door slammed shut, and that sound was very loud in my ears, like a full stop for the outside world. Inside the car, it was dark and tight, and the smell of gasoline mixed with old fabric made me feel sick and scared. I tried to scream, but my throat felt locked, and no sound came out, only fast and shaking breaths. The car started moving, and I realized that I was leaving everything familiar behind, meter by meter, while no one knew where I was. I did not know how long I traveled. I only knew that time did not move normally anymore, and every minute felt longer, heavier, and more frightening. When the car stopped, I was pulled outside, my eyes were covered, and my feet stepped unsteadily on uneven ground. No one said anything to me, and that silence scared me more than any threat. I was taken into a small room, the door closed behind me, and only then was the cloth over my eyes removed. The weak light made me squint, and I saw 4 empty walls, 1 old chair, and no window. I sat there with my hands tied, and my heart was beating so strongly that I could hear it. At that time, my mind had no logical thoughts, only the same questions repeating again and again, asking if this was real or just a nightmare. I thought about my family, about small things I never cared about before, like dinner together, the sound of the television, or the safe feeling of lying in my own bed. All of those things suddenly felt very far away, like another life that I was not sure I could return to. The first hours passed in silence. No one came in, no one talked to me, and that waiting slowly broke me down. I started to notice every small sound, a distant footstep, a door opening or closing somewhere, and every time my body became tense with fear. When someone finally entered the room, I did not dare to look up because I was afraid that face would stay in my memory forever. The voice was cold and flat, asking me a few simple questions, but it sounded like it came from another world. I answered in a half-awake state, only hoping that if I behaved well, everything would end faster. After that person left, I was alone again with my thoughts, and at that moment I realized that the greatest fear was not pain, but not knowing what would happen next. time continued to pass, day and night mixed together, because the room gave me no sign of time. My body was tired, but my mind never rested, because it was always in a state of high alert. I started talking to myself in my head, telling normal memories as a way to remind myself that I was still human and that I still existed. There were moments when I almost lost hope, feeling like I was slowly disappearing inside these four walls, unheard and unknown. But there were also very small and fragile moments when I told myself that I had to live, even if it was just for one more hour or one more day. I learned to observe, not to escape right away, but to keep my mind awake. I realized that fear can paralyze you, and if I let it take over my mind, I would have nothing left. In the days after that, I slowly understood that I could not control the situation, but I could control how I reacted. I breathed more slowly, tried to stay calm when someone entered the room, and did not let my emotions explode. Every time the door opened, I felt hope, even though I was afraid of hope, because hope can hurt more when it's taken away. Then one day, or maybe one night, I'm not sure, everything changed. There was more noise outside than usual, hurried voices and tension spreading into my small room. I did not know what was happening, but my instinct told me that this might be the last chance. The door opened, and this time the voice was not cold like before, but rushed and out of control. I was pulled up, not like the first time, but as if they were dealing with a problem bigger than me. Everything happened very fast, chaotic, and then suddenly stopped. I heard other voices, different from the ones before, and a strong light shone into my eyes. Someone called me with a calm voice, telling me that I was okay now and that I was safe. In that moment, I did not cry and did not scream. I only felt empty, as if all my emotions had been drained. When I was taken outside, the air was cold and clean, and I took a deep breath, as if I was breathing for the first time. Everything around me looked normal, but I knew that I was no longer the same person as before. After I returned home, life continued, but it never went back to the way it was. During the first nights, I could not sleep, and even a small sound made me jump. I was afraid of the dark, afraid of small alleys, and afraid of silence itself. But with time, I slowly learned to live with that memory, not to forget it, but to stop it from controlling me. I understood that I was lucky and that there are people who never get the chance to return. And I also understood that safety, something I once thought was normal, is actually very fragile. This story is not meant to scare anyone, but to remind us that we are alive, we are free, and this is very valuable. Because there are moments in just a few seconds when a whole life can turn in another direction without anyone being ready. And when I walked out of that room, the first thing I learned was not fear, but how to value every normal day that I am still able to live. If you find this video interesting and helpful, please give me a like and subscribe.